And I'm going to disown him as my son because he's just out of his fucking mind, ringing bells and all this. Let's use 6 million words to say the simplest things, just so we can try to contrive this matter reproducing itself into some kind of spectacular, meaningful, let's just keep on riding this rickety shit coaster forever bullshit. I mean, it's all, there's no knowledge in the ignorance of the past, the ignorant conclusions of the ancient scientists. They were wrong because they didn't have any fucking instruments. They didn't have magnifying glasses. They didn't have telescopes. They certainly didn't have Hubble and nuclear accelerators. I mean, just bullshit to sit there and keep dragging those just plain ignorant conclusions into the future. I mean, it is the same thing as having a conversation with a retarded human and asking them to define reality. And they'll say something like, Hulk Hogan is God. And, that's as far as it'll go. Okay, so now we're going to make Hulk Hogan God because a retard said it. I mean, it's just ludicrous. Just step out of that nonsense and get with the program. I mean, we have discovered the truth. And there's no fingers poking this mess. No intelligence would initiate life without being part of it. It just isn't sensible to make that argument. And again, if you make that argument, then you have to explain where your mystery intelligence came from that created this slop. Anyway, you're not doing that. You're not even coming close to doing that. So why keep playing the game? It's a lie. You want to dress up as Mary Poppins when you're having sex? No one's going to care. You want to pretend when you're in your little house and you want to say some prayers and do some voodoo and maybe, some Eye of Newt and some toads and whatever stuff you want to mix in a pot. I mean, it's cruel, but, go ahead. You want to wish on a star. You want to not step on a crack and believe it means something. You want to flip your light switches on and off all fucking day. Go right the fuck ahead. But don't preach that as a philosophy. Don't preach superstition and nonsense as a legitimate human philosophy. I mean, come on, you can't acknowledge that what you are doing is snake oil. What you are doing is a lie, and you are attempting to make people feel okay about being liars. You assume it doesn't matter. What does matter, Matt and others? It matters what people believe, because their beliefs are turned into dues, and their dues are corrupted and perverted because they believe this bullshit has a purpose it doesn't have, that it has an end, an accomplishment, that it's some sort of free ride, that there's no liability or payment. Well, I'm telling you, there's a fucking payment. My life is a payment. I have not wanted to be here for 99.9% of it, and for the whatever, the 50 glorious hours, the rest of it you can flush down a fucking toilet. You think this is fucking fun? Having to argue with all you fucking assholes and explain to you what fucking suffering is and what pain is? And get you to mind your own fucking business and quit playing with life like it's a fucking goddamn toy? It's not a fucking toy. This shit out here suffers. It eats each other. You dumb fuck. You wouldn't want to go back to living in that shit. I mean, I found another tick on me the other day. Another fucking parasite to inject me with a fucking disease. For what? Because it's a little reproducing monster. That's all. No other fucking reason. Not because some god planned it. You dumb cunt. I mean, this is just such bullshit. Quit playing this fucking goddamn game with life. I mean, you're going to talk about it, then be serious. Be intelligent. But don't tell me I should fucking gold plate and put in monument the babblings of retards 2,000 years ago. That is goddamn an insult to my intelligence. It's an insult to other people's intelligence. And certainly a fucking diabolically evil goddamn practice for any modern human. So knock that shit off. Alright, took a little run. Anyway, look, most of life on Earth, by preponderance of the tonnage, is just a machine. It's no more alive than your fucking computer, if your computer could reproduce itself, or your iPod, or the stick shift on your car. It's a machine, a mechanical device. These green things here collect sunlight so they can make seeds, so they can reproduce. That's what they do, day in, day out, year after year after year. They don't plan, they don't contemplate, they don't think about how much they love the little bush that lives next door, or the grubs eating their roots. They don't do any of that crap. They're just a machine that harvests sunlight, and as its consumption, and converts it into reproduction. That's where we came from. Alright? We have sentience, and that's the difference. Yes, it makes a difference. It's a distinction. But this is our origin. We're a machine designed to function a particular way. Okay, to reproduce. And that's all the game is about. It's a DNA molecule trying to perpetuate itself, acting, performing, functioning to reproduce. That's all it does. Because that's its chemistry. That's the dictate. That's the phenomenology of its reality. That's its properties. One of its properties is a tendency to make copies. And that's all we're from. And this is, it just isn't some kind of, let's just make up fairy stories so we can excuse the suffering and make excuses for this continued investment in a game that can't be played by intelligent organisms. It can only be played by baboons and apes and moron ignoramuses. But anything with a civilized intellect cannot build or embrace or finance or contribute to this Frankenstein experiment. Bastards. Alright, one more add-on. Just cut that field over there, just noticed. Now I got an allergy on top of everything else. Anyway, okay, look, the truth is, life is pretty simple shit, okay? It's matter. Atoms, molecules, atomic structure, quantum, whatever you want to make it out of. And, the gigantic bulk of it is not alive, does not reproduce itself. That's what makes something alive. It reproduces. Alright, it doesn't do something else. That's the definition of a living thing. It reproduces a copy of itself. Anyway, that's the standard, the only definition we know of. And then what does it do? Well, it consumes, because that's what that facilitates reproduction. Certainly I could divide in half and reproduce myself, but they're going to be two half the size models, so you can't do that too many times. And the consumption thing is inevitable too, just because you need the energy to reproduce. It takes energy to move one part from the other part, to separate. All this stuff takes energy, movement, photons. You have to capture them, capture their momentum and their movement, either through eating foods that have a lot of momentum in them are kinetic energy that is now being stored as potential energy, or you've got to do it yourself. You've got to collect the kinetic energy. But that's it. Not complicated. Just chemistry, physics, then chemistry, then biology. It's all the same thing, but just how it evolves. You don't have biology until you have chemistry. You don't have chemistry until you have the physics. And so biology is this very complex and very nuanced. And yes, if you want to say interesting, go ahead. It's kind of a bullshit word. Fascinating. Look, the little piece of chemistry is reproducing. Look, it's pulling out its penis. Look, it's raping the bitch. I mean, what it's chemistry, fuckers. You want to watch it in a little dish, and you want to see what it does. All right, well, anyway. So we're up to consumption. All right, so we're on island Earth. The consumption inevitably has to turn into death and cannibalism. The copies don't have any place to go. It's finite space. So one of the copies has to die. The original producer, usually. It has to be programmed into the machine. And we can see that. Most all living things are programmed to die. It's built into their hardware. They will do it. No eternities for anything living. Because you wouldn't survive if you did. Because you would overpopulate, you'd eat all the food, you'd kill each other, you'd leave the desert behind, and you'd have to wait 100,000 years for things to grow back again, or whatever. That's just the way of it. Somebody will eat, the last piece of wheat, so to speak, the last apple seed, and you'll be done. So anyway, it's programmed into us. We're psychologically cannibalistic. We feed off defeating each other and killing each other and beating each other up, because that's how our ego's been wired. We're wired to be alpha, to control, to manipulate. That's the game for us psychologically. And then most importantly psychologically is the addiction thing. And yes, lots of living things are addicted, but they're not psychologically addicted. They will behave, unrelenting in their chase, because they've been hardwired to chase. And all they know is light, pursue, chase, run. They don't have any, they don't need a sentience to look like an addict. But we, on the other hand, have it, and that's all we're doing with it, though. We're just addicted. We're just desire machines in our fancy, highly evolved form.